Thanks for joining us on the show. We hope your weekend is coming on well. Welcome to Live from Abuja. We are reaching you from Nigeria's seat of power. I am Ademola Lawrence.
On the show today, we have exciting compilations for your viewing pleasure. So sit back as we take you through this worthwhile experience. I am Habida Lawal.
I think the week is been a very interesting one, starting from the student loan, then the increment in power. I think Nigerians are not just finding it funny this time.
I think the increment in tariff overshadowed the student loan bill that was signed into law, given the fact that a lot of things will be affected, not only, and this was occasioned by the hike in gas price. So we hope certain steps will be taken to ameliorate these issues for people.
We hope so, and all of these things is what we're going to be talking about on the show. But let's begin with some cheering news coming out of Africa's most populous black nation, where students can now have access to loans to further their tertiary education. This is happening at the time President Bola Tinubu signed the long-awaited student loan bill into law.
Both chambers of the National Assembly Committee on Tertiary Institutions and NELFUND had earlier considered the bill before its passage. President Tinubu is confident that with this new law, no Nigerian, regardless of their background, will be excluded from obtaining quality education. So this next piece tells us more on the steps to be taken before assessing the student loan.
It is not a new practice all over the world as government provides loans for students to further their education. Nigeria joins the league of countries that seeks to reduce the burden on students. According to research, about 70% of Nigeria's population is under 30 and 42% is under the age of 15. Nigeria has 272 universities, 152 colleges of education and 159 polytechnics. The signing of the new law is in fulfillment of the President Bola Tinubu's flagship policy to boost the prospect of Nigerian youth to acquire tertiary education in the country.
Are determined to ensure education is given the proper attention necessary for the country, including skill development programs.
The power to determine the modalities to assessing the loan, class of students who are qualified for the loan, and the amount to be given to beneficiaries are left to the board of directors, who are yet to be appointed by the president. Unlike the Students' Loan Act 2023, the new act removes family income threshold so Nigerian students can apply for these loans and accept responsibility for payments according to the fund's guidelines. Applicants to the fund may apply for loans to cover tuition and other fee payable to the school and maintenance allowance payable to the students. Payments of the fund shall begin as soon as the beneficiaries become employed in any capacity.
You see, the payment plan is 2 years and it will be 10 years, 10% of their monthly enrollment. That will be done for those who are working. For those who are not working, they must inform the board that, look, we have benefited from this loan and we are not working right now. So we apply for extension of a period that allowed us to commence the payment of the loan. Where such extension is cannot also pay, then you are left with the option to go and SWOT an affidavit on why you cannot be able to pay and it should be waived for you.
With this, there is hope for millions of Nigerian students who may have become school dropouts due to their inability to afford their tuition.
Okay.
Helen Osamede Kings, TVC News, Abuja.
And President Tinubu initially signed the student loan bill into law back in June 2023 to offer financial assistance to Nigerian students in tertiary institutions. While the bill was signed earlier, its implementation has faced delay due to various issues hindering its rollout.
The bill also provides the framework for equal access to interest-free loans for all students seeking to study in public institutions of higher learning in Nigeria for the payment of tuition fees and other levies. Earlier, we had a chat with the Minister of State Education, Honorable Yusuf Sununu, where he puts all of these issues in clearer perspective.
After assenting to the bill, Mr. President made it that clear that as far as the government is concerned, under his leadership, no child should be left out of school because of the poverty, irrespective of his state of origin, religious or racial. As far as he is a Nigerian, that right to access to higher education will be given to him in such a way that he can remember that as Nigerian, the country has done something else for me and I need to pay back to Nigeria. So we want to thank Nigeria. Now, we look at the objective of the bill before coming to even the access. What is the objective? The objective is to make education very accessible and affordable to individuals so that there is not anybody who suffer discrimination because of economic status of his or her family. And that should be open to every Nigerian. There are qualifications to access the loan. And one of the major qualifications is, first of all, one must be a Nigerian who has secured admission into state or federal government-owned tertiary institutions or registered skill acquisition centers owned by even private organizations. It means by the provision of the Act right now, the beneficiaries are those in public institutions, either federal or state. And then it also goes to say that government will now register entrepreneurship institutions, you can even call them IEIs, so that anybody desirous of skill can go and key into those registered institutions, get their admission for a number of years or months he's going to study, and then access the loan so that he can continue to pursue his skill acquisition. The importance of this is that we are now having so many out-of-school children. This out of school, well, let me limit it out of school. You can have children, you can also have adults. For children, we know what to take them out there, we give them the basic. We have adults who we have to give them basic educations. And then given the education, we must also arm them with skills. So they can go and register in any of those institutions and then get their addition. This is a skill addition. You may also say that yes, I am a polytechnic student. I'm interested in becoming a mechanical engineer. The government has provided all the opportunities for you to have the theoretical knowledge. You can access the loan and register with any of these skill entrepreneurship institutions and then get a loan that you can do to pursue it. The previous act, whether by omission or commission, is so restrictive in such a way that few students can access the loan, restricting it to only those who have less than 500,000, those whose parents defaulted cannot you must have a grantors who are directors, at least two. You understand? There are villages who have university students, and nobody in the whole village is a director. They don't even have a state civil servant at directorial level take place of having a federal director. So it's so restrictive, and people made so many cry. And President is somebody who is so passionate about Nigeria and monitoring and tracking events. And also in the 8-point agenda of Mr. President, there is a bigger provision for the respect of rule of law. The only way that bill could have been, act could have been operational is by circumventing some of the provision, and that's against the rule of law. People will challenge the system. So Mr. President has to give it a second thought and because of the very good alignment between the executive and the National Assembly legislature, and everybody is convinced that the need of that loan is cannot be overemphasized. So an amendment was sent, and in the shortest possible time, it was passed. And because Mr. President is committed, instantly also he assented to the bill. So that now removed all the restrictions that we are this, and it now made the access for you. The major qualification is what I've mentioned. Yes, up till now, if you have enjoyed it on your own personal ground and you refuse to get yourself to pay it back, then you cannot access it. I think it's understandable. Here you are the one causing the denial for yourself, but nobody is visiting you because of the fault of one's parent, which I think is an understandable issue. So the access is for you to get in public institution or any of the registered skill acquisition centers. If you think because of your parent has enough and then you don't want to, yes, it's good, so that you can allow the others who cannot listen to. And that's one good aspect of the act also. It provided for a collaboration. Do you know that an individual who is rich enough, wealthy enough, can donate as gifts or as grant to the fund, so that he can have so number of people that can be enrolled and utilize that his fund to secure their knowledge. The payment plan is 2 years, and it will be 10 years, 10% of their monthly enrollment. That will be done for those who are working. For those who are not working, they must inform the board that, look, we have benefited from this loan and we are not working right now. So we applied for extension of a period that allowed us to commence the payment of the loan. Where such extension is cannot also pay, then you are left with the option to go and swear an affidavit on why you cannot be able to pay and it should be waived for you. There's provision for an affidavit. Then, for those, the payment, if you are employed, then 10% of it will be deducted. And then the loan, the board, the fund will have to write to the organization you are employed that so person is a beneficiary of student loan and repayment is mandatory. By the act, you are directed to deduct 10% of its monthly earning and remit it to the fund, because we will also discuss the sources of funding. So it will be remitted back to the fund so that it can be used in terms of a revolving fund. So, now, if you are so communicated to, but you refuse to do, then the person in charge of that is liable. You will be held responsible, and you are liable to, in conviction, to 2 years imprisonment, to payment of 2 million, or some years of imprisonment that a month or years I cannot recall. But I'm sure you pay 2 million as a fine. If you come up with a program without legal framework, that program will not see the light of the day. You understand? It will just come as a program. And once that program is gone, it's gone. Why do we have some established institutions? Because they are established by the Act of the National Assembly. And this is also a result of Act of National Assembly. What is the implication of that? Nobody can wake up and say, today I have killed it. You have to go back to National Assembly. Either repeal it completely, or you amend it, or you repeal and reenact. So, and I'm sure that the National Assembly in the next 50 years and 70 years to come, they are representative of people, and no member so elected by his constituency genuinely will do something or abrogate what has been beneficial to his citizens. So the difference here is that the previous one are programs that lack what? Legal framework. We are now dealing with institutions, because the fund now is what? is a body, unlike before, the act of the previously was a committee. And now we are dealing with what? A body of corporate entity that has perpetuity, and there can be that can sue and be sued. Each quarter, the fund must to publish in a national daily. It's there in the act. Their transaction, they have to meet quarterly, and they have to also publish it in national daily. And they must also send a report, a copy of that report to Mr. President, and also to both House of Representatives and the Senate. You understand? And they will scrutinize this. And it's also, even the fund did not just leave it open, go and spend what you want. Certain logistics say peg it not exceed 10% of what is in the fund. So there are a lot of internal mechanisms. Other than that, you have also external. The money has to be audited. And then you also have our watchdog, the financial anti-crime institution, that will also follow it up.
All right, joining us live in the studio to give us more on this national mobilization is the National Mobilization Officer of Education Rights Campaign at Daramoye Michael. Mr. Daramoye, it's nice to have you on the studio.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Interesting conversation. The student loan has been signed into law by the president. But let me first ask you, when you first heard of it, what was your reaction to it?
Well, when the idea of the student loan came up for inception, we acknowledged it as for another effort by the Nigerian ruling class to further commercialize public education, to take it out of the reach of Nigerian students, as against what the loan scheme is being positioned to cater for, which is to access education. We feel that in the reverse, it is going to create more crisis for students in the education sector, and even beyond the education sector itself. Because we have to look at it clearly and critically. That because this itself goes beyond just the education sector. Because students who will be graduating, obviously will be going into society, which will mean that someone has a loan, has millions of naira around his neck as loan after graduation. And then before I begin to ask, what is the quality of life to even expect from young graduates who will be benefiting from this so-called loan scheme itself? So that from the very inception, we've looked at this loan critically, and we've drew our conclusion, which is clear that this loan itself is going to create crisis for students. It's going to create crisis for the society at large, because it means that government is attempting to hands off from funding the public education. And we've always mentioned that public education, and for me, provision of education is a function of the government, and government must not shy away from it. But what we've witnessed over the years is that government have been trying to shy away from their responsibility. And this idea of loan scheme itself, it shows clearly how the Tinubu regime has taken further steps in that wrong direction of trying not to fund the education sector properly.
Now, Mr. Michael, some Nigerians think this is a very bold move, but they are scared when it comes to the implementation of this scheme. What is your take with regards to this?
Well, like I said, there will be many problems attached to this. Of course, and what you've mentioned is even how to implement it. Because number one, when the idea came up, what we first heard was that 50 billion naira has been allocated for the loan scheme, for the first year. And then the president, while presenting it at the parliament, said there's an additional 200 billion for that too. So that we continue to even raise the question that will this fund even be enough to cater for all the students who are interested in getting this loan? Because you look at millions of Nigerian students we have, and with the reality that ever since this discussion on the loan scheme has started, schools have continued to jack up their fees. Just some months ago, the College of Health Sciences in OU increased their school fees from about 100,000 naira to 800,000 naira.
That is inevitable.
Which will mean that students who have, for like before now, when you are paying 150,000 naira and you can take loan for that, which now it means that you have to take loan for 850,000 naira, which will mean that more students will have a higher amount to take loan for. So that we then have the question that can that itself cater for all of these students, and those that cannot meet the loan, only because of one reason or the other, or even lack of funds or sufficient funds to cater for everyone. What is going to be their fate? Are they still going to be faced with this problem of paying the same increased fees as those who have gotten the loan? So these are questions that we need to ask ourselves. But like I said earlier, there are many problems. When you look at it, the more you look at this loan scheme itself, the more you're going to look at more crises in it. And the question of implementation, how do we, because now, aside the tuition fee, there's also a question of giving loan on upkeep of students. So how do you even determine the amount to give as upkeep to students? Also, considering the level of inflation we have in the country too. So that is the take, that there will be crisis of implementation. And even aside that, even after you get it too, there are also a lot of crises attached to it.
Okay, so you've spoken a lot about what the challenges are, why you think that this loan thing will not work. Maybe if we had this conversation when the president had signed the first one, maybe that could have, there could be more things to look at, but now the president, that the bottlenecks that the first one had has been removed. Let's say, for example, you look at, and the first one was the 500,000 naira threshold by the parents of the applicants. You understand? Now, in this case, it has been removed. That's number one. Number two is that the guarantor, which is if the person is a civil servant, so from level 8 to level 12, the guarantor part is also removed. Yes. So if we say, if you are saying that you don't see the possibility of how it will work out, the president is saying that, okay, in this case, while you are looking at these other challenges, let's remove the bottlenecks that this have. So I think, don't you think that those bottlenecks can open up the space for people the opportunities for them to take the loan? And lastly, you talked about the fact that how do they even pay up the loans eventually? Don't forget, in the new one, there's always also the space of when the applicant has graduated, finished the NYSC, 2 years after, he or she will now be given the avenue to pay up the loan. Don't you think all of this is also should be put into consideration? Why we look at all of these things?
Thank you. Because when the loan first came up, and we look at it critically in the Education Rights Campaign, some of these points you made, that some of these those conditions that were removed were things we've pointed out. In fact, when the loan came, the idea came up, we had to look at it, and we came up with a pamphlet where we stated clearly 10 reasons why the Tinubu student loan is a scam, and it is on the basis of some of these conditions attached to the loan that we feel that even if by chance a student can even get this loan, it is almost impossible. But now that some of these conditions have been removed, it is not because the government was being kind or nice. It was because Nigerians spoke up against it. That how will you say you want to give loan to students and then attach all of these conditions to it? It was the voice and concern raised by Nigerians that made the presidency and those involved to have a rethink and do that too. But now that these conditions have been removed, our major concern, because like I said earlier, we view education as the responsibility of government, providing, and even the Nigerian Constitution stated it clearly too, that these are things the government, obligations that the government must also do to the citizens too. So that then, if the president is genuinely interested in Nigerians accessing education, we have made this point clear that there are means to which this can be done without placing the burden of debt on innocent students. And that is the point we are making. And that is why we are saying that this loan scheme even if it works, it's going to create crisis for anyone who is lucky to get to benefit from this loan scheme. So it goes beyond just removing the condition attached to it, because we've asked ourselves, is Nigeria too poor to give Nigerian students access to quality and affordable education? Because in fact, in all of these discussions, we've not even mentioned the quality of education we'll be getting, because everything has been on fees alone, how to get the education itself. But we've asked even, is there even provision to even make this thing quality? Because I mean, if students will be getting a loan for something, at least it should be guaranteed of a level of quality from me too. But like I said earlier, it goes beyond just removing these conditions too. The idea of a loan is safe, and it's what we've questioned. And when we came up with our pamphlet last year, we gave the government alternative measures that instead of placing debt on students, there are ways to ensure that our education sector itself can function properly. And I will take you back to history. We've had in this country
Can you just do that in like 30 seconds? Is it possible? I'm listening.
Okay, we've had in this country a period where our education sector was almost like the envy of all in Africa, where we even have students coming from other countries to even see that let us benefit from what Nigerians are enjoying. So that we need to ask ourselves, what has gone wrong from this in this period? When we had that, it was not because there was a student loan at that point. No, it was because government was being responsible and giving enough funds to that sector to ensure that students can enjoy quality education at affordable price, almost at free price.
All right. Thank you very much.
Interesting conversation, Mr.
Adaramoye
Michael.
Yeah, and he's very passionate about what the student loan is. Thank you very much for joining us on the show.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you. Now, the Ministry of Education says 2 million out-of-school children have been enrolled in basic school and Arabic literacy program with vocational training.
The Minister of Education spoke at the Citizens and Stakeholders Engagement on Nigerian education sector ministerial deliverables in Abuja.